Yep, you can start her off.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Farmland Hunter. We're here with Dan Klotz, the archery connoisseur of Somerset County. How are you?
Good, Tuck.
Good. So, you know a little bit about bows. Give a little introduction to Dan. Has a starting local archery shop here in Somerset and has been working with bows for a long time. How did you get started in the archery industry?
Getting started 30 years ago, shooting local competitions. It grew into string making, advanced from there, and still shoot today competitively, and constantly working on bows and setting up arrows, and it's just something that's in my blood. I enjoy it.
And your main focus or your niche is string making, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And you told me a little while ago when I first started coming over here about how you got introduced to the string making. How did you go from just being your everyday bow hunter and archery shooter like we are and most people to getting into working on the bows and starting to build string and that stuff?
I think it was more learning from pros that pushed me into doing it. Of course, there's no one in the area, that does what I do, so it's a way of making money.
Yeah.
All about the money.
Yeah.
All about the money. Nah.
Now, you went down to Alabama, right? And didn't you learn from a shop down there when you were working? What were you, drilling or?
Yeah, I worked for Keystone Drill at the time. Was down in Alabama. Went to a local shop down there owned by Alan Connor. He showed me a little bit of the string making. I come back on and started playing around on my own. Implemented what Jerry Tannehill up in Bakersville had taught me about string making, and combined the two, and it turned into shooting and enjoying the archery.
And you also coached 4-H for a lot of years, right?
Yeah, for 15 years I was a 4-H archery coach.
I always thought about joining the 4-H team. Were you on the archery team for 4-H?
No, I don't even really remember the 4-H that much because I was so little when I did it, but I just remember you had to have these certain groups. I did the beef cattle thing of it, so I always just stayed with that. I did rifle though. I did do rifle a little bit through the 4-H. That was about it. Yeah,
4-H has a lot of good programs. I mean, they had archery, rifle. I mean, they pretty much had a program for everything, and I think they still do. I'd
imagine. Yeah. It's hard to say with today. I don't know if they have the rifle club or anything.
Thing really put them in a, I don't know. I feel like they fell off there for a little bit because they with the fair and didn't have anything to do with the fair because of COVID and stuff. I think they lost some membership.
Yeah. So, when you go to these archery shoots, do you see a lot of name brand people like Matthews, Hoyt, guys that come from Matthews, like Chris B? Do you know who Chris B is? You ever heard of Chris B?
Oh yes.
He knows all the pros. Don't let him fool you.
I'm new here. I don't know.
It's always good to run into pros, and my advice to anyone who runs into a pro, ask those questions you want to know.
Yeah. You were saying about my servings walking up, and you said that you learned a little tip from Levi Morgan. Where did you meet him, and where did you see him at?
The OPA, which is an organization of professional archers, at the time they invited who they wanted to at these shoots, and that's where I learned to know Levi Morgan, and he gave me the tip of interweaving the serving to stop the slippage.
And now what we're talking about is so on your bowstring you have your string, but then you have the string. Well, you explain what is serving first of all, and explain a little bit of what we're talking about with serving slippage and just go into detail for those who don't know.
Okay, the serving is wrapped around your bowstring to protect anywhere there is wear, around your cams, around your modules, through your roller slides. You also have a serving out where your D-loop is, which fattens up the string enough that your knock has a nice, tight, snug fit.
Okay. I never really thought about the knock fitting at all. Do you have to measure and get the right serving to fit individual knocks, or do they all pretty much fit better, or does the serving have an effect on your arrow flight at all? Different kinds of serving, or is there really no?
Not really the kind, but if you have too tight a knock fit, say you use 21 thousandths serving, that can sometimes get too tight and your knock is too tight fit.
Yeah.
It should just snap on enough to hold it.
Oh, okay.
So they make different thicknesses. They make different whether it's weaved together or just a single strand. There's so many different
kinds
of servings that you find out what works best for you.
Right.
That's the thing. Like with bow hunting, I can shoot my bow, I can sight it in, I can hit the bullseye, I can take it hunting. But when it comes down to like all the like the cams, the doing little stuff to like tune your bow, like the nitpicky stuff that like most, like a lot of guys don't think of, especially me because I'm new to the whole bow hunting thing. Like I get totally lost like when people are saying about all these different kind of stuff. I'm just like, what part of the bow?
That's why I take it to Dan. I don't even want to mess with it because I'll probably screw it up if I do.
I know how to make it tighter. That way I pull more weight back or loosen it. So I'm not pulling. That's about as far as I get. But I've only been shooting a newer bow for about 2 years, so I'm still learning about how the whole thing works.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff to do. Yeah,
we're both pretty new into the whole archery world, and it's good to sit down with someone like yourself that has been in the industry for so long that, that's what we wanted to sit down here today, just to kind of learn some stuff from you and then be able to share it with other people too.
Yeah, so let's start like talking about like learning stuff. So the other night me and Tucker were shooting down at my house on Thursday, and my arrows, it just seems like I was telling him, when I shoot, the arrow doesn't enter the target clear perfect like center. Like to me, whenever I shoot the target, my arrow should be sticking in it straight. Sometimes it has like a little, like a kick in it, like almost like whenever I hit the target it kicks or something, like it didn't enter the target perfectly straight. Why is that? Like he was saying about maybe like what are you saying about the tuning or something, maybe possibly?
Tuning, probably.
Yeah, the tuning or your center shot can be off. It also can be a bad release. So it's something we'll have to take a look at.
Okay. See, I'm using an old True Fire release. Just what would you even call that release?
An index release.
An index release. Okay, yeah. I see. I don't even know the terms.
McCauley just goes after the deer, and that's his focus.
Oh yeah, I can hit the bullseye and I can kill him. That's just about it. But so like, I'm using like probably like a 15, 16-year-old, which to some people that's probably not old, but to me, like that's almost as old as me.
Yeah.
Release. I mean, it works good, but I have no way to tell like how it works. Like Tucker gave me his what was that called?
A thumb release. Or a thumb button.
Yeah, to try. And the first time I shot it, I pulled the thing back, put it up to my face. He's like walking me through it, and I let it go. Almost missed the target completely. Then I got it a little bit better, but I've never tried in a different release. So I guess I don't know if that'd be the problem.
Well, you have to let him try a hinge release and see what he thinks about that. Yeah. So explain for the listeners the different styles of releases you can find out there and kind of their purpose.
Okay, the hinge release that you talked about is probably the most accurate. You do not know when that shot is going to go off. Some archers can't get over that. Most archers you will see use an index release, which they start the timing method of going across the target and then they punch it. Punching is not good. Hinge, any style release like a hinge where you got true back tension is the better choice.
And it gives you that surprise shot, so you're not anticipating your shot, correct?
Correct. But if you learn to use an index release right,
it's just
there's nothing wrong with an index release.
And how do you shoot your index release as opposed to other people? Because I know it's a little different.
Well, the best thing you could do would be practice with a practice string and learn to get away from that punching. Let the targets, the pin settle on the target and start the squeeze of a release. Most of the pros will tell you start that eagle's claw and then just start squeezing. No punching at all.
Yeah. I see a lot of people that shoot in there. They'll get set up as soon as they get on that bullseye, boom, and they're just ripping a shot down. And when you start to do that, some people it doesn't affect, but you probably see a lot of people have some serious target panic, they call it. And I know I had to switch from an index release to a thumb button, and I shoot my thumb button almost the same as a hinge. I use it as like a back tension. I pull through my back and I rotate back through the shot, so that way it rotates in my hand and uses my thumb as a release to go off. I use the thumb or an index. I use the Spot Hog. What was that? It was the purple Spot Hog. Cam Haynes always shot it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Midwest Whitetail uses this.
Yep. Great release. Smooth, feels good in your hand. But for me, I always had a problem of getting anchored and then just punching the trigger. And I can't shoot an index to save my life because of that. And most people, that's all they shoot is an index. I prefer the handheld thumb button releases because it gives me a surprise shot when I need it to. Like when I'm in the woods, I even hunt with it. And then if I need it in a situation where I need to shoot now, I can always just touch the button a little bit, or I don't know what you call it, I guess the button, and it's going off too. I don't understand how, like Chris B, how he hunts with his hinge. Like every deer he shoots, every animal he shoots it with the hinge. And that just amazes me. You get a good release, but I don't know how he can control. I guess maybe in his situation he's thinking if the shot's not good anyway, to not rush it. It's just not a good shot. You don't hunt with a hinge, right? Or do you? Have you?
I will deer.
Oh, yeah?
I was out on a hog hunt, which, if you've ever hunted hogs, they're real skittish, and one's rushing in front of the other, trying to eat more corn than the other one, and it's hard to settle and get that smooth pull-through shot.
Yeah.
But deer hunting, I use the hinge release.
And what hinge do you use?
The Fulcrum Flex by True Ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that's a good release. I hear a lot of people in the industry, just on social media and YouTube and stuff, use that. A lot of hunters in the archery industry, it seems like they're pretty stuck on the index release. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because it's the easiest to use. Keep in mind that these years ago, when you started to learn compound archery and recurve, you were using your fingers. Well, then the release come out. The index is a cheaper release. They have some high dollar, but it's the most affordable and it's the easiest to use, and that's what you see on the hunting channel.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Was it the first, like, after everybody quit using their fingers, or didn't quit, but a lot of guys switched over from using their fingers, was the index release the first one to come out? Was that like one of the first releases.
Yeah, and they were rough around the edges, definitely.
I think yours was an original one.
It's old. It's really old. But it gets the job done. I'm stuck in my old ways.
Yeah.
Got a brand new bow, 20-year-old equipment on it.
Yeah, you got the Verdicts. You upgrade. You have the Verdicts. You
Yes.
just got the VXR, right?
Yes.
All Matthews shooters here.
Have you seen a V3X yet?
Yes, I've shot one very smooth bow.
So like, is there a point? So like, people say this all the time. How can it get more, like, advanced? Like, technology-wise, how can it get more advanced? My verdicts, I went from shooting a 2005 Hoyt. That thing was, I don't even know why I shot it. And then I get that verdicts, and the difference was, like, immaculable. Like, it was crazy. The shots, like, just quick, quiet. You don't even hear, all you hear is the release click. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the arrow's hitting the target. Like, I don't know how, like, you could get more advanced than that to me. Like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy already.
Yeah.
Like, unless they start shooting lasers or something. I don't
I agree with you. I said that.
Yeah.
I said that 10 years ago, that how can they get more advanced? But every year they make the bows smoother, quieter.
It's crazy because, like the V3X, I mean, I guess the new V3X has that new, that bridge technology, like the center bridge technology. Like, you can put that sight in the center. That's cool. I don't know how it works, really.
Yeah.
I guess you're not looking, like, out to the side of your bow as much. I have no idea.
Have you seen anyone use that yet?
Not yet.
No.
I haven't seen one.
I guess we should watch the hunting channel, like all those people.
Yeah.
The sponsors.
There was an archery shop up at college, and they had a demo bow there with one in. And I saw on YouTube someone do a review of one, and they said that with that bridge lock technology, some sights are already pre-made to have that big, thick riser, or a riser between its rail and the sight itself, the housing. And when you move it in that close, a lot of times, they said a lot of these sights that are out there that are already made, they don't go in enough. Yeah, it would be they don't go in enough closer to itself.
So you're looking away from it a little bit like this.
Yeah. So they said you really have to watch which sights you get, because some of them just won't work on it. Now, like Hoyt, I like what they did. They put the Picatinny rail on the front of the riser, and I like that a lot. I think it's a lot simpler. You're in line then, and then you're not just stuck to the what's that called when you have the bar on the sight? You have the like most sights, they screw into the side of your bow, but some of them have a bar that you tighten down the top on.
You're talking a dovetail?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if mine has that or not.
No, yours is just the
just right
the
into the bow.
screwing, yeah.
Just 2 screws into the bow.
Dan's over there is a dovetail, right?
Yeah, the dovetail allows you to slide the bar.
Yeah.
Extend that sight further out from the bow, or slide in closer, which when you're using a lens,
Okay.
that's a good...
So that's a good thing I didn't even think about till now. So I didn't even think about the sight being able to come forward and back, like towards you and away from you. My eyes are great. Like, I can pick just about anything out you want me to. If you see something, I can point it out to you. My eyes are real focused. But, like, when I'm looking through the sight, through my peep, it just seems like the stuff, like I have 3 pins. It's a trophy ridge. It just seems like my eye just, like, wants to blur them together because they're close. Like, at 20, I have my sight set at 20, 30, and 35. And it just seems like they're all so close that they start to blur. And I don't know, like, if I would bring it closer, if it would help me, like, clear them up. Or, like, if I would put them further away, maybe my eyes wouldn't be so screwed up. Like, I don't know. Like, do you have anything to...
if your pins are blurring in your eyesight, we could always try a verifier in your peep, which would clear those pins up for you, but then may make it hard to see the actual target.
Yeah, see, green, like my green pin, my 20-yard pin's green, and then my 30-yard pin's red, and then my 35's green. My green pin I can see pretty good. Like when I'm focusing on 20, it's clear as like a whistle, you know. But whenever I go to 30, that red pin, it starts to blur, and I don't know if it's the red color and my eye just doesn't like to focus on it with the target or what, but I don't know if, like, that's why I told him, like, I thought about maybe switching to like a single pin, had like a green single pin, and like I always liked the idea of the single pin just for the fact that, like, you sight it in, you can move that. What sight is it that it's just like a twist button, or not really a twist button, but it's like a
twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a single pin mover, right?
Yeah, the vertical up and down.
Yeah, that.
With a single pin and your target's out there further, you have to lower your sight.
Yeah, I've always liked that idea and I thought maybe if I switched to that, maybe my eye wouldn't want to focus on all three pins. Maybe that one pin would be easier for me to focus on. That's probably my biggest problem whenever I'm shooting at night. It's not even during the day, broad daylight, dark, doesn't matter. It's still like my eye just wants to blur it together, and I figured if I just had one single pin and put it on the target, maybe it'd be better off. I mean, I still hit the bullseye a lot, but like maybe I would be more in that general group. You know what I mean? Because like when that thing starts to blur, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to focus on the sight and the target at the same time, and I'm like going like this, like moving around trying to focus it, and then I miss by like 2 or 3 inches sometimes, and I don't like that.
Yeah, most hunters like a 3-pin sight. That way they're not moving anything on their bow when that animal comes in for the shot.
That's the only thing that I like about my 3-pin is that part of it. You don't have to worry. You just have to worry about ranging them, and that's about it. And most of the time I have the paths ranged before they even come in, so like I don't even have to hardly do that sometimes. But I guess with the single pin, you'd have to range them, move the sight. That's a whole other thing to worry about while you're in the tree stand. That'd be the only thing. I don't know, maybe I can paint that little red sight green. That
yeah.
I mean, I know you're supposed to have them that way you don't get confused with like which one's 20, 30, 35 or whatever, 40. But I feel like if I could get it in green, then maybe my eye wouldn't blur it as bad.
See, for me, I really always had a problem with judging my distance between pins, and I feel more confident in my shot. I'd rather just take the extra time, range the animal. It takes 3 seconds more, and be confident that that's where my pin, wherever I put my pin, that's where my arrow is going to hit. I know some guys, they'll set their pin on 30, and they'll shoot from 20 to 40 with their 30-yard pin.
I've heard of the guys doing that too.
And I can't trust myself enough to do that. Yeah. I'd rather take the extra time, range the animal, get a yardage, put it on, and then draw back and put it on them.
Yeah.
Now you have those situations where it is tough. I haven't ran into a situation yet where I didn't have enough time to do that. And then, you know, what I like with the single pin is you should practice setting it on 20 or a distance and practicing shooting without, you know, moving your sights. That way, just in case when you are in the field, it's a good fallback plan. If you need to, you don't have time to move your pin, you can just pull up and shoot and know your distance from your pin too.
Yeah, like last year, I had a buck. I called him Splits. He was coming out. It was like a Texas standoff where he was standing there trying to figure out like if I was in the tree or not, and we stood there for like it felt like 20 minutes. It was probably only 5.
Yeah.
I was just standing there, bow in my hand, holding it like this in the air. Couldn't put it back on I couldn't even do anything with it. My arms were getting tired. I couldn't move. I'm just there like this. And that with the single pin, if I would have had like he was wide, I had like one shooting lane and he was looking right at me. Like if I would have had to move that sight or bring this other arm up to do it, he might have picked that off, but all I had to do is wait for him to put his head down. I just went like this right off the bat, and I didn't have. So that'd be the only thing with the single pin about changing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's pros and cons to both, I guess. I'm not a big archery guy yet, so I don't know the whole ins and outs of the whole thing or know all the answers. That's why we're here.
Yep. I think we were talking earlier, it's just archery is a lot of whatever works for you and what works best for you and what you're comfortable with. And use what's comfortable and whatever gives you the confidence in the woods. You know.
That's true.
Tucker, you mentioned target panic, and 90% of the archers have it. Myself, I have it. It's knowing your equipment, knowing what keeps your target panic tamed down. It's hard to overcome target panic, but I keep mine tamed.
You gotta learn to live with it. It's always gonna be there. You gotta learn to live with it.
Don't forget buck fever on top of it.
Yeah, that's my big problem.
Oh, I get target panic when there's a deer out there. I'm like, all right, let's go. Boom.
Yeah, I get pretty nervous. I'll be up in the tree stand, like, arms shaking, about falling out of the tree stand. That's just...
I know the first doe I see of the year, when she's walking under my stand, I start shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh, all right.
Any deer, if I can get, like, I usually end up seeing a lot of deer on my sits. Our property's really open, and I end up seeing a lot of deer, but it's whenever they're within bow range that I start getting super nervous. Even if it is just a doe, I'm just like...
yeah.
Hold my breath in just in case.
I love watching doe just feed around, and it's just so cool to be up in the tree and look down on them, and it's like you're not
even there.
Not even there. Yep. And you don't see, like we were talking yesterday, you don't see that in rifle season at all.
No. By the time you get to rifle season, after maybe the first day in some places, after that, the deer, so they know what's happening. They're just patterns totally change. You don't even see a deer. Our property will go from being like fantastic to nothing in about 24 hours during rifle season. You can see 10 bucks the day before, right before rifle season. Then you go in there on opening morning, maybe see some guys get some, and then after that, chances of shooting one are slim to none.
I'm totally convinced that the older deer, when everyone's shooting their rifles in the week before, whatever. I mean, around here in Somerset County, the weekend before, you'll hear gunshots all day. It'll sound like opening day.
It's
especially
true.
Now, because opening day of rifle season, you don't hear that many shots anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced that the deer associate that with a coming season. I think they kind of prepare for it, because you can kind of see the deer patterns start to change once the guns start going off.
Sounds like World War III out there on opening morning out of our place. Like our property, there's not that many people that hunt on it. Most of us are family, one or two friends. But you just listen all morning long, all you hear is...
Yeah.
And I guarantee the deer, once they hear that, they're like, "Yep, we know what's going on now." They have calendars. I'm convinced they have that too, and caves. They definitely have caves, because there's no possible way that they can all disappear that. I'm convinced they dig holes or something. We don't know everything about them yet, or climb trees. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
Hey, how would you know if a deer's hiding from you in a tree? You never seen it before.
Yeah, you don't know until you see it.
Yep.
So I guess we could talk about arrows.
Yeah.
I don't really. Arrows is where I'm. I don't know. This is going back to me being not knowing that much about the whole archery thing. The other night, Tucker goes, "What grain arrow you shooting?" I was like, "I think my whole arrow is like 495 grains." He's like, "Yeah, that's good." And he's like looking at my arrow. He's like, "What grain's your arrow?" I said, "It says 340 on it. I guess it's 340 grains." He goes, No, that's your spine." I was like, "What do you mean my spine?" I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I had no clue. So like, what? Give me like Tucker and me went into a little bit. He was trying to explain it to me. So like, the lower the spine, the thicker, like the heavier the arrow, or what is it? The
stiffer the
arrow. Stiffer. That's it. Yeah. So the lower the stiffer, the higher the number, the less stiff it is.
Yeah, it's more flexible the higher the number.
Okay. So I always thought like people would say like they got a 500 spine arrow or whatever. I always thought it was just a fancy word for talking about grains. Like I had no idea. I was like, holy smokes, 500 grain arrow. That's pretty big. But I had no idea. So that's like, I didn't know that whole end of it. And like Tucker was saying about like they had to go by like grains per inch, right? GPIs is what they're called. And I think mine was like 9.5 9.4. Is that like, or 8?
Something around there.
Yeah, 9.2 maybe. Is that like a normal kind of thing? Are they usually around that 9?
Anywhere from 7 grain per inch to 9.
Yeah, that whole end of it, I'm a little eerie on because I don't know that whole thing. But I also, like, I use Easton arrows. I don't know, do you use Easton arrows, or what arrows do you use?
Through the shop here, there's how many different manufacturers of arrows. So I see all kinds. The grains per inch, going for the total weight mass of an arrow. You're talking the field point, what inserts in it, to what fletchings you're going to put on it.
I didn't even think about fletchings before, like, until we were talking. And he's like, even your fletchings have a little bit of weight. And I was like, freak, them things are like paper thin. What are you talking about? But I guess it does have a lot of play whenever you're talking about, like, the aerodynamics and shooting it through the air. I guess that every little bit, like, adds up, I guess. And I never really thought about it. I used to go to the store, like, when I had that old Hoyt. I used to just go down to this one sports shop, just grab whatever arrows, get them cut to whatever length that I had, and I just shoot them. Didn't even care. Like, well, I go in, like, I grab like 12 arrows, probably not even the same as the ones I had the year before, and I just shoot and make sure that I could hit the target, or like the close to the bullseye or the bullseye, and I was like, yep, we're good. Now I'm not that way. I have one arrow left of the good ones because I shot at this one buck last year and I blew the other ones apart this year, being stupid, trying to shoot further. I blew them apart. Now I only have one left, and I want to get the same ones because they're lucky. I shot my first buck with one, and I want to shoot. I like them. They have it's a Easton Axis Sport 5mm. I guess it's a 340 spine, and they have like one of them 50 grain inserted tips. They're like silver. I'm pretty sure they're 50 grain. And then I think they're like those AAE. Is that the company that makes the vanes? AAE.
Yeah, that's one.
I think that's one of the companies that makes them. Yeah.
American Eagle.
Yeah. But I have those on there. I don't know. I just got them down to the sports shop. I like them. They shoot pretty good out of my bow, I guess. They're pretty nice.
Yeah, the 340 spine can handle a weight 70 plus.
Okay.
If you use too light of a spine with a high poundage bow, it can get dangerous. So
you're shooting a little thin piece out of I guess you get that flex, like you're shooting a freaking, like, all that velocity and kinetic energy, it'd probably just go.
As the ranch fairy says, the Twizzlers, right?
Yeah, a lot of guys are trying to reach that FOC from the center.
Which I want to talk about that after we're gonna lead into that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have no idea about any of that, but so like my bow, I'm pulling 60 pound back. It's not quite right at 60, but it's right at 60. I'm using that 340. Is that like a good stiffness for like a spine for like 60 pounds, or like what would you recommend shooting out of like a 60 pound bow?
340 spine, you could go all the way to 400. When you start getting into weaker spine arrow, you want to back down on the point weight. Okay.
So like I have that little inserted tip, plus I use like 125 grain broadhead or field tip whenever I'm practicing, and I guess I'd have to add up all that stuff sometime. I should probably figure it out so I can, when people ask me what grain of arrow I was shooting, I was telling them the wrong thing all this time. But I guess I should figure that out. I never thought about any of that before, and I don't know, like what you were just saying about like the stiffness and stuff. I didn't even think arrows, like I always thought arrows were all the same. Like they all look the same. I just thought the number on them was like the grain of the air. They all look pretty similar. I thought they were all made the same.
It's like the javelin pull.
Yeah.
That flex in the arrow is what's guiding that to the target. Your point's going to lead the way, but you get too weak of a spine.
Yeah.
Chances are it could snap when it leaves the bow.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not pulling.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm gonna be pulling 70 pound anytime soon. I'm a little skinny guy.
Yeah.
The 70 pounds is half my body weight.
I shot 70 last year and I was surprised, and I think it was because I was lifting through the summer and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I tried. Man, I backed my bow down the other day. I drew back and I felt like nerve pain all my neck and down my shoulders when I was drawing back. I was like, oh man, I gotta draw down the weight here. But you were saying about, what was this? You were when we were getting stuff out of the truck, you were saying a statistic about a doctor with.
Oh yeah. So this one guy, he bow hunted back in like the old recurve, beginning of compound bow days. He used to hunt. He's older now. He's probably 75. And he was saying his doctor, because he had to have shoulder surgery, he said his doctor told him that he sees more guys come in their 50s and 60s that need rotator cuff surgery and stuff that were shooting bows their whole life and to shoot their bows. He said he's not sure if it's because of the way they pull them back or what, but he said all those guys, he's like, oh, you're a bow hunter? Yeah. And he's like, oh, yep, figures. And I mean, I hope I don't have to have that surgery, but I ain't gonna give up bow hunting, so
Yeah.
I guess I'll deal with it if it happens. But yeah, I don't know if that's true, or maybe the doctor was just blowing smoke up him or whatever, but it does put a lot of stress on your shoulder. When I pull my bow back, even if, it's not hard for me to pull it back, but even just pulling it back, I can feel my muscles working. I imagine it's doing something down there.
Well, you're having a little bit of a problem with your arm too, right?
Correct. Hopefully it's not what he's talking about. But yes, I'm at that age where you can see stuff creeping in. Good Lord willing, I'm going to keep shooting.
Yeah. I'm not giving up bow hunting. I hope I can bow hunt until I'm 60 years old.
I'll just use a crossbow.
There's a guy that so there's this Exodus trail cameras. You ever heard of Exodus?
Yes.
There's a guy, he has I can't even remember. It's 50 Boone and Crockett entries in. I wish I could remember his name right now. I think he's out in Michigan. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's Michigan. He's 65, 70, still using a compound bow. He said he used to he's getting into more the saddle hunting now. At that age, that's usually you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Usually old dogs 65, 70 aren't going up in a tree anymore.
And he said he used to just when he was in his 40s, younger, he used to just climb up in a tree. He'd find a tree that had an L shape in it, and he would just climb up into the tree, no tree stand, nothing, just get up in there. And he said he would take his own straps that he would make, and he would just tie himself to the tree, just kind of using a saddle.
Yeah.
Just, old.
Yeah.
One of the first originals.
Yeah.
And just hunt deer. And he killed big deer that way. Think about it. Don't hang a tree stand. You just climb up in a tree every time you hop in there. That'd be a little rough. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I could probably do it, but I wouldn't like it. Think about trying to find a tree that you could stand in.
Yeah, it's hard enough to find a tree you want to stick your hang on, let alone climbing up. I think I could climb up that one.
I can stand on there for a whole day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my butt hurts after 20 minutes, 30 minutes up in the stand, let alone standing on the side of a tree waiting for a deer to come.
Yeah, I just checked my one stand this past week. It was one night after work, and I climbed up in it. Well, I was climbing up in it, and I saw this white piece of foam laying there. It was all chewed up. I looked up at my stand, and my seat, some squirrel or something or whatever, I don't know, ripped my freaking seat apart. Had it laying on the ground, so now I gotta figure out, because I'm not sitting on bare metal. I don't have much meat on my bones.
Yeah.
My butt cheeks are touching the metal.
Well, I got an XOP Vanish stand last year because I was trying to go with kind of the lighter setup. The way if I wanted to, I could move it around and stuff. And that tree stand is so uncomfortable, and it's not a cheap tree stand either. It's basically a clone of the Lone Wolfs, but I think the Lone Wolfs have the better seat on them. The seat's so small, it's so close to the tree, and you're just straight up and down the entire time, not a lot of seat movement, and it is uncomfortable. And you're in there for 30 minutes, you're like, oh man, this is starting to get old, but...
Have either of you tried saddle hunting?
No.
No.
Have you?
Do you have one? I was gonna say the only thing we were talking. If you would listen to our what podcast was it? That was the last one.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the last one. We were talking about that a little bit. I'm not good with like strings, like ropes, tying, any of that stuff. Like none of that I'm good at. Tucker did get me talked into like a lineman's belt for hanging tree stands and stuff. That's a big game changer.
He said he was just taking all his stuff up and hanging off of it with one hand, putting his stand on. Like, you're working too hard.
Yeah, I get up there about 15, 16 feet. After I hang the sticks is the easy part. Hanging sticks is nothing. But then I get up there and I have to wrap my arm around the stand, then pull the platform up with one arm, try and fish my ratchet strap around with my left arm. But now I went on Amazon, got me a lineman's belt. I hung a tree stand just for fun. I had one stand in my house, and I had a spot that I thought I wanted to put a stand in. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this thing out. I just went back there, ran it up the tree, put my lineman's belt on, threw it around, grabbed the platform, worked with both hands, put it up way quicker than I did it before. And then even trimming limbs, I have like a Heumann tree saw, just like a handheld. I just loosened the belt real loose, made sure it was good, and I just leaned out from my stand, just cutting limbs like nothing. Before I had to like hold on to the platform and just could reach what my arm could. Now I can do everything. Yep. Total game changer. If you're listening and you don't have one, definitely get one.
And it's a lot safer too.
Oh yeah, 10
You're
times
attached
safer
the entire time.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I almost fell out of the stand trying to get them hung because I didn't have the right equipment. Yep. And I mean, I'm not saying that I couldn't now, but the chances are slim. Those belts are crazy. They're good.
Do you use a lineman's belt?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I'm older. I'm not letting go of that tree.
Yeah. How high? So when you're hanging your stands, how high do you prefer to be usually?
I'm usually at 23.
20? Okay.
So yeah, I'm the opposite. I'll go to, that's a lie, I'm not the opposite. I'll try and find a tree with cover, like the best cover, and on the right side that I need the wind and everything. But I have 5 hang-on stands now, and 3 of them are probably only 12 to 14 feet in the tree. But that's because the trees aren't that big and there's a lot of cover down low.
He's just afraid of heights.
No, I'm not afraid of heights. I used to hang. Biggest reason I don't go super high is my biggest. I don't have all that many sticks, like climbing sticks. If I would have more sticks, I'd probably go a little bit higher. But also, I have like a 20-foot ladder, and I keep the platform down from it like 3 feet. So there I'm like at 17 feet. I'm just worried about like getting at a higher angle. I'm always thinking like, well, if a deer comes in, like if I have a big buck come in like 5-6 yards from the stand, which is always possible, because I'm hunting like CRP and stuff, their paths are just everywhere. Like if he comes walking under the stand, that's a hard angle to be. And I'm not saying I wouldn't try and shoot him at that, but I'd rather me be looking more eye level, not eye level with him, but more, right, so I don't have that sharp angle. But like maybe you'll know at like say a buck's within like at 10 yards or closer or within 20, your arrow is going to hit higher obviously than it would at 20. So like say the buck's 7 yards out from your stand, is pretty sharp angle. Where do you set your 20-yard pin? Like, because my 20-yard pin's my lowest one. Do I make it look like there's like, pretend there's another pin above it like there would be and put it on it, or like what do I do?
Yeah, they make a rangefinder that deducts, but most guys will have a 20-yard pin set that you're not moving.
Yeah, that's how mine is.
So I just aim a little lower. Yeah. Keep in mind that when they're that close to you, and I had this happen already, I actually hit the platform of the tree stand enough to hear the air ding off.
Really?
That sucks.
So,
that would be the worst.
Hopefully never do the straight down shot. It's not good.
Hopefully it was just a doe. Was it just a doe?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
If it was a big buck, that would suck. I'd throw my bow out of the tree stand.
I'd jump off the damn tree stand.
Yeah. I almost did that last year. You probably never, if you listen to some of the podcasts, if you go back through and listen to them, last year I shot a buck I called Splits. I watched him for a couple years. He was just a cool had junk, just a sweet buck, and he came out at 20 yards on our farm. I pulled back. He quarters to me a little bit, but I'm like, I practice at 20 yards all the time. I was like, I'm going to slip it in right beside his shoulder. And I hit his shoulder, and it just stopped the arrow dead. Like, I only got like probably... Well, I just found my arrow the other day while hanging in a tree stand. And the arrows broke off about 6 inches back. So there was like 6 inches of penetration, but it must not have been in the vitals. Yeah. But I would talk about wanting to throw the bow out of the tree stand. After I got down out and we didn't find him, I was about ready to give up bow hunting. And then whenever I shot him the second time, this time I killed him. I watched him go down through the woods. I have the whole thing on video. He stands down there, wobbles, drops over. I waited 2 hours. Even though I saw him drop over, I waited 2 hours. We go down, start tracking blood all over the trees, the leaves everywhere. Look down. He picks his head up from where he was laying, looks at me, gets up and runs away. Then I was ready to give up bow hunting. Then that was done. I was like, well, we're done. I'm buying a crossbow.
How many times have you said you were done bow hunting?
Several.
Okay, it's not just us then.
I say it every year, and then the next day I'm back out bow hunting again. Yeah. But that was probably the most upset I was ever like in my life. The first time I was upset, I didn't even want to go back out. Then when it happened the second time, I mean, he did die. He only ran back like another 150 yards, and then he fell over again and was dead. But the fact that he got up and ran away, even though I put a good shot on him, was still beyond me. But I was about done then. But I got him, so now I'm happy again.
Do you have any stories like that?
Yeah, and I was going to ask you guys, what's the furthest shot you'll take?
I will shoot a deer confidently at 30 yards. I have been practicing at 40. I practice at 40. Now I can hit the bullseye, but I won't go much over 30. It depends on how big the buck is. If it's a big one, 35. I'm really good at 35. I'll shoot 35 at a big one. But if he's just like a good buck, I'll try and let him get a little closer. I'm not gonna try and push it. There's a lot can happen in that time from your bow to 35 yards. A lot. I mean, it's crazy. Just at 20 yards of deer, like last year, he was already moved that quick in between 20 yards. And at 20 yards, it's like that. The arrow, you like to go to the release, and the arrow is there like in a half a second. Mm-hmm. I can't believe they even have enough reaction time to do that.
Yeah.
What about you, Tuck?
Oh, my sight tape goes out to 100 for a reason. No, I would base it, probably 35 would be my max, but I base it on how the deer's acting rather than the situation, because
that's good.
I shot a deer at 30 yards. I mean, I shot him. I didn't kill him. That was when I first started, and it was not good, but I'm confident that I can shoot a deer at 30. 35 if I'm pushing it, but like you said, their reaction time, if a buck's on you and he has you pinned, you shoot him at 30 yards, he's going to be ducking the arrow. He's going to be moving. Yeah. They're so instinctual. I mean, they hear your bow go off. Now, if he's out feeding, he has no idea you're there. Yep. Yeah. He's calm. You can tell by his signs. He's relaxed. You can sneak one in a little farther. I would say if I had a nice buck, he was calm. He wasn't spooked at all. He was in his element. I would say probably 35. And if it was on my good, if everything was right, 35. But probably 30.
That's the same thing here. At 30 yards, I can hit the bullseye pretty much every time.
Yeah.
But at 35, I can do it too. But there's a lot can happen.
Yeah, I prefer to just get them in at 20. I like to set up closer to trails and where I think the deer are going to be. I'd rather get in a little closer just to take all them factors out and just get up close and personal with them, because like I had a deer 2 years ago. He came out on my left side and I was in like these 3 big oak trees that kind of split off and I had to stand in them. Great stand. I mean, deer, it's really hard for deer to pick you up in those stands that are inside of other trees, just because the other trees are there and you kind of clump in with it. You know, as long as you're still. I mean, this the biggest buck I've ever seen hunting. He came up 30 yards, and the crazy part was, this is what's great about the rut. It was October 20th, like early in the October 20th, so like 21st, 22nd, 23rd. It was 60 degrees out, and I was sweating up in my stand. Like, it was that hot.
Yeah.
And I was like, usually when it's warm, you don't usually see deer. You know, at least I don't.
Well, I shot,
except for you, yeah.
I shot splits the first time. It was 75 degrees out, and
True.
I rattled a little bit. I watched on the Deer Society. They're like, just tickle the antlers a little bit. The one guy's like, I do it in October. He's like, I just tickle them a little bit. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I don't have anything to lose at 75 degrees. I can only tickle them a little bit. Come right up through the woods.
Yep.
That's just how it happens sometimes.
So he came out, and then he came down behind me, and he was kind of watching the tree the whole time. And I made the mistake of stopping him walking, because then he fixed on me. When I shot, he reared back to try to miss the arrow, put the arrow right in the shoulder blade, and I only got 4 inches of penetration, and it was parallel with his body, so it wasn't straight in. It just like hit his shoulder blade and kind of ran out. He was fine. We saw him later in the year. And when they're on you, it doesn't matter how fast you're shooting, because I believe that they'll jump your string pretty quick. How far will you shoot?
I say 30's an ethical shot, but you head out west, do an elk hunt, mule deer, you're not going to get that close to those animals. You better be able to do a 60-yard shot, and these bows are well capable of doing it.
I think there's a huge difference in the elk and mule deer out west compared to the PA whitetails.
Oh my God.
These things are on edge all the time. I think I've never hunted out there, but from what I've heard from people that went out there to hunt compared to here, these things are a different animal.
I went out there in 2020. So dumb. Like, if like these guys that kill them every year out there, like I understand why, because like if you miss them, they bounce 10 feet, look back at you again. Like, you shoot at a deer here in Pennsylvania, 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, the dang thing's gone. He's running for the next county.
Yep.
You don't get a second chance at him. You're just shooting at him while he's running. When you hear 2 shots, it's because they're running him. Yeah. That's about it. You never get to shoot twice. You don't shoot and they don't just turn and look at you unless they're 500 or 600 yards away.
Yeah.
You don't do that. But
yep. He's running until he gets tired or finds a big brush pile to lay down in.
Yeah. Have you hunted them out there? You hunted white mule deer?
No, not a mule deer. I've been to Canada on bear hunts, hog hunts, Georgia hog hunt, and a Texas hog hunt.
So a lot of hogs. I went to Nebraska mule deer hunting, and it was fun. I didn't shoot a big one. One of the guys that hunted with us shot just a giant, like 25 inches wide. Like, it was just a 3x3, but it was an old buck, huge, like Roman nosed, like thick main beams, just crazy, like sticker points sticking off of it.
Did
everywhere.
you get that mounted?
Yeah. He got it mounted. I just shot it like just a little 3x3, which is weird. Like, he was 19.5 inches wide, but he was just like points like this long. He's just he's like a 2.5-year-old buck, like here, you know. I screwed up the first day. I had a 4x4 come in, and he jumped. I was on this like walk-in permission farm out there, right beside the public, and I'm sitting there, and the private property fence is like, I don't know, probably 70, 80 yards to my right, and I could see it because it's a wide open field, and there's a gully beside me. He comes over, jumps the fence, and as soon as he comes over in front of me, I was like, I'm going to try and shoot him. Well, then I was looking at him, and his rack was blending in with the brush, and I was like, I don't know how big he is. The sucker turned and ran back across the fence. I was like, why didn't I? And then I saw how big he was. I was like, what an idiot. I'm dumb. I did get to see, that same day, like 20 minutes after he left, I did get to see a radio-collared doe, mule deer doe. Had like this big box on her neck. Probably uncomfortable. It had like an antenna and just this big old box.
Are you allowed to shoot a collared deer?
No. Well, If it was a buck, yeah, but there's no mule deer doe allowed to be shot in that area. We were in the Pine Ridge unit.
Okay.
There's no mule deer doe allowed to be shot. Just the tag's good for either a mule deer buck, a whitetail buck, or a whitetail doe. You can pick one of those three. And you can get a second tag too to shoot either. So like, you could buy 2 tags, shoot a mule deer and a whitetail, or vice versa, or get a doe or 2. But I want to go back out there or possibly go to like Montana.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd take my bow, because just for the fact of spot and stock, and I ain't that efficient yet. Maybe just take my rifle and just go out there. It looks fun. I'd like to go out there, like 10 inches of snow on the ground, and pine trees and the big gullies.
Sounds fun. You can keep the snow though. We got the 10 inches of snow here.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for good pictures.
Yeah. What's your best? What has been your most memorable hunt so far?
That would have been a Manitoba bear hunt.
I was with a bow.
Yes.
I'm scared of bears. I'm not afraid to say it. I hate bears. Every time I walk in my tree stand, I'm scared.
Are you seeing bears?
Yeah, the reason I was scared is I was hanging in a tree stand one time by myself, and I was walking in the stand, and there's this huge bear on our farm, and the sucker came between me and my four-wheeler right when I was getting down. I was like 10 yards from my stand, and he walked out, and I was like, oh no. I took off running back up my tree stand as fast as I could, and then he walked into the high grass where my four-wheeler was at. I was like, I ain't leaving.
Yeah.
I called my mom. I was like, you're going to have to come back here and get the four-wheeler for me. I was like, I ain't getting out of this stand. I ain't dying today.
Well, I was hanging a stand last year, and I'm halfway up the tree, and I'm like looking and see this black thing move through the pines. I'm like, there's a bear up there, and there's 2 other guys below me, and we're just sitting there talking. We've been there. He just slowly stops, looks at us, and just slowly walks by. And then out of that same stand, I shot my deer, my buck this year, and we were looking for it. And my dad was walking through the brush, and he had a black bear walking up. He said he was 30 yards from him. I had no idea he was there yet. He started walking up to him. My dad goes, hey, bear, hey. And we start hearing him yell at this bear. And the bear, I guess, picks his head up and looks at him, just turns and slowly walks away. Not afraid. That's the thing. If they ran away from us and they were like a deer, and like, oh shoot, there's a human there and we're getting out of here, I'd be fine too. But the fact that they don't really seem to mind that we're there, and I got pictures of a bear walking right under my tree stand. There was a mom and 2 cubs, and that's the part that worries me, walking in there. Yeah.
And getting between her and her cubs, and accidentally, yeah. I had one time. I was spring gobbler hunting, and right below my uncle's house, there's like this draw, and the woods is only like 60 yards wide. Like you can see one end of the woods. Like you can just look through the whole woods, and there's turkeys out in the field. So I'm like trying to sneak over to the edge of the field to set up. I get down through the draw. I pop up on the other side. I hear something behind me. I thought the turkeys must have like got out of the field and came around the back. So I flip my safety off. I turn around, like 10 yards behind me on the other side of the draw. There's a bear. He looks at me. I look at him, and he took off running one way. I ran the other way. I didn't even care about the turkeys. I was heading for the main road. I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, bear are not what you want to see going into the woods.
Yeah, and then you shoot one with a bow. No way. There's no way. I wouldn't even track it. Nope.
Yeah. He gets all mad and he just comes after you instead.
Yeah, none of that. Was it like, so you shot one?
I shot in New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, okay.
Yeah, and the following year, my son shot out of the same tree stand a female bear in the same location.
Huh. Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
How big were the bears?
My bear was 165, which the guide came in and said, how big of a bear did you shoot? Well, they're a big ball of fluff.
Yeah, they look 10 times bigger. I shot one that weighed 202 pound. Thing looked like 450.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swore this was 350 pound and it was a 165 pound bear.
They look huge when they're on their, like when they're walking, they look ginormous. Like I've been with so many guys when they shot, like we do a lot of like driving for bears and stuff over there on our farms, like before the corn gets cut. And like when bear season's in, and like I was with this one old dude, this bear come running across the road, and they're like, this bear's like 200 pounds. He's like 250 pounds. So we're there, comes across the road, over into the fields, and this old guy shoots him twice, drops it over. I wasn't big enough. Now I could have picked the thing up with one arm. It weighed 64 pounds. And when I saw it, it looked like 300. I was like, oh my god.
Did you guys see the picture that PA Whitetail posted of that big black bear walking through
In the town up in like
Selinsgrove?
Yeah.
That's like 30 minutes from Williamsport.
Oh really?
Yeah, I have friends that live in Selinsgrove there.
That's crazy. The thing looked like it weighed like 500, but that was a big bear. I bet you that thing was at least 400.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture of it then. This thing was huge.
Just walking through, people were taking pictures of it in town.
Yep.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
I haven't seen many this year, which is a good thing. I haven't had any on camera. I hope I don't get any on camera. I hate them. But that's about the one thing that I'm scared of in the woods, other than Bigfoot. I know he's out there.
Yeah. So, we're here at the start of July. It's time to start getting our bow setups ready for the archery season. What do you recommend people to do to start practicing and to start shooting their bow? And like, what's your preparation plan getting ready for the archery season? And what should people start to do now to get ready for archery season and get their bow setups going and get shooting?
The bow setup, get out, get shooting, get that bow to your local shop. You know if you're going to have problems, whether you're not grouping consistently, shooting off to one side or the other. It's a good time to get arrows made. You got to know your bow, and you're the guy that's going to know whether or not something's right or wrong. These bows are capable of shooting bullseyes at 20 yards. If your bow isn't doing that, you go see your local pro shop, see if they can help you out, push you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Now, what about shooting wise? What's a good practice to get ready? Like
10, 15 arrows at 20, 10, 15 arrows at 30.
Yeah, like what would you have your your 4-H kids do at a practice? Kind of like, because a lot of times I know I go out and I just shoot, but just like in sports, like if you're playing basketball or you're playing baseball, you have to have a purpose to what you're doing.
Practice.
What do you recommend to start getting out there and a good practice?
Well, I've seen guys that'll say, I shot 100 shots last night. Well, if you didn't work on what your problem was, you didn't gain anything by shooting those 100 shots. If you have a hard time holding on the target, that's what you need to practice. If it's your release, that's what you need to practice. So once you have that all accomplished, getting ready for the hunting season, I would recommend shooting 20 all the way up to 60 yards. And knowing that you have the groups and knowing what your bow's going to do in that situation. Shoot out of a tree stand. Most guys are going to hunt out of a tree stand, so why not shoot out of a tree stand and know that you can do it.
Practice like you play.
That steep angle shot, see if you can manage to make that happen, where you're going to hit that animal.
So, kind of jump off here. Do you shoot standing or sitting out of your tree stand? When a deer's coming in, do you stand up and shoot or do you stay sitting?
Well, I wear a safety harness. I don't know about you guys, but I wear a safety harness. I wouldn't be in the tree without a safety harness. So, yeah, I want to practice shooting, standing up, hanging in the safety harness. A lot of times I'll lean out around the tree knowing that the safety harness is holding me. So you want to be able to practice that shot and know that you can still manage to get it done.
So not focusing as much as the repetitions, but have some effort in what you're doing. And
Purpose.
Have a purpose. That's what I was going for.
So, like you said about grouping, like make sure you're grouping. Like what to you at 20, 30, 40 yards, what do you consider a good group? Like 2-inch diameter, 3-inch diameter, like circle, like what do you consider, like if you put the arrows in like a certain circle, what do you consider, you know what I mean?
I'm going to say the yellow bullseye. If you can't hold it in the yellow bullseye, you owe it to that animal to be a good shot. When I was younger, my dad said, you can't hunt until you can hold all your arrows in a pie plate. Well, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Today, these bows are capable of keeping them in the bullseye.
Yeah.
So 20 and 30 yards, I'm going to say if you can hold the yellow, you're good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, whenever I really focus, like, that's the thing, like, if I just rip shots, like, I can be, like, off by, like, 3 inches one way, 3 inches the other way, but, like, if I settle down, I'll just, like, breathe, settle the pin, I can hit the, like, pretty close to the bullseye, if not the bullseye a lot, but, like, I'm usually, like, whenever it's probably, like, a 3-inch diameter circle, and I figure, like, that's probably, like, good, like, the vitals on a deer is, like, probably about, like, that.
Yeah.
So, like, I figured if I can hit that, then I'm in good shape. The bows are really advanced. You should be able to hit those about every time. I guess my big thing is my eyes. They just get blurry, like I said before. Mm-hmm. That's the main reason why I always end up, like, drifting off.
A lot of guys will come in with a hunting story, and they'll say I shot all summer long, and I ended up missing a buck, or I missed this animal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the steps that they may have skipped was, did you shoot your broadheads to see how the broadhead flies? Definitely a pro tip there to shoot your
yeah.
Shoot your broadheads, see where they're grouping.
We were talking, you'll probably know this too. So, like, out of my bow, I've tried, probably 5 different brands of broadheads, and I like fixed blades. I do like fixed blades, but the only reason I switched to a mechanical is because it flew just like a field point out of my bow. Like, I have a, when I get closer to the season, I have a buck target, like, has the inserted foam and whatever, and I shoot it with my broadheads. Then probably about September, I'll start shooting it, and I shoot it with my field points, and then I put on these mechanicals, and they were hitting the same place my field points were. But I tried the same grain fixed blade, screw them on, and they were all over the place. I don't know, like, if that's just, like, the way they are, or if my bow just, like, if they don't fly right out of there. I don't know. So, like, what's the difference? Like, you'd think, like, if my bow is on with a field point and it hits with the mechanical as well, like, you'd think, like, the fixed blade would hit too, right? Like, that's what, to me, that seems right.
Yeah, there's broadhead tuning, and I don't care if it's a mechanical or a fixed blade. You need to shoot that broadhead, see where it's going to end up.
So, like, I guess as long as the mechanical's hitting the same place as the field point, it did shoot where I wanted it to. I killed that deer. So I guess it's hitting it where I want it to. But I would love to use a fixed blade, because then there's no, like, worrying about, like, if they open up or not. But when I shoot one, it's just all over the place. So maybe I'll have to get it tuned to those. I don't know.
How do you broadhead tune?
There's several ways to broadhead tune. It's usually a rest adjustment to get it to fly. And it sort of goes against that French tuning that you did with a field point.
Explain what French tuning is.
I call it French tuning, but there is walk back tuning. It's the same thing. Guys call it differently. So up close, say at 20 yards, you shoot and you're right in the bullseye. If you step all the way back to 60 and you notice that your arrows are shooting to the right, that means that you need an adjustment on the rest to move it to the left, and then re-sight the bow in to get it back in center. Some people call it center shot. It's French tuning, walk back tuning, whatever you want to call it, but you're two parallel lines will never cross, and that's what you're doing with that arrow leaving the bow.
Now, will you do walk-back tuning over paper tuning, or paper tuning first?
Yes, I would prefer that I got the group on the target where I want it, and then I'll go and see what a paper tear looks like, and it's crazy. Some arrows you'll see have a tear, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's where the bow wants to group. From the original get-go, I will take a brand new dozen arrows, shoot them through paper, see what kind of tear I get, and do a knock tune. That's rotating the knock so that they all tear in the same direction. And hopefully you have that bullet hole that everyone's after.
Yeah.
So we said about talking about FOC. I don't even know what FOC is.
Yeah.
Like,
So there's a new trend now with going with heavier arrows and having a heavier front end on your arrow. And that's equated to a high FOC, or front of center. I think it goes back to kind of like the recurve in traditional days of archery, where, back in the day, am I correct, they had bigger broadhead, they had fixed blade broadheads with a lot of weight on the front end. And explain explain the thinking behind the theory or the new trend of this high front of center, high weighted arrow.
Yeah, the point weight being heavy is the only way to achieve that FOC. So you're seeing guys put brass inserts in. The theory behind it is that point is going to lead the way. The rest of the arrow and the fletchings are just there to
for the ride.
Stabilize it out and help steer it.
Yeah.
An adult's arrow and the arrow length, it is hard to achieve the FOC that you'll see on the internet. So I always tell my customers, if you're a third towards the front of that arrow, you're within a third, you're pretty reasonable. And the manufacturer in the Lancaster book, all their points that insert into these arrows are normally really, really close.
How far was mine? Mine was...
I can't remember.
It was like, if this is the arrow, I think we were up near, I'm not sure if it was quite a third of the way, but it was up there. It was more past the center.
There's a guy, for you guys listening or more interested, there's a guy, his name's Ranch Fair on YouTube, and he's starting to do research with the Dr. Ashby Foundation. And basically, the more momentum you have, speed is good. Speed, in my opinion, is only good for getting to the animal. But to get through the animal, you don't need speed. You need weight. You need momentum. It's the same analogy as, like, if you get hit with a Fiat going 60, it's going to be a lot less damage than getting hit by a coal truck going 30. Because true. That weight of that arrow is going to carry through the animal and not just get there quick and lose all its momentum in the animal. And then going with the fixed blade, Dr. Ashby has done tons of researching and testing, and it's really interesting to look at the different results that he's found with going with these high weighted broadheads. Now, they go a little on the extreme side with going like 200 grain heads, 175 grain heads, even up to 250 grain heads, which is absolutely nuts. I mean, they test a lot of their stuff out on pigs at 20 yards, and that's fine, but anything past 20, you have to have a little bit of speed. I mean, they're shooting 700 grain arrows, crazy amounts of weight. But I lost my train of thought. What's the last thing I said?
You were talking about Dr. Ashby, and you were saying...
Oh, okay. But basically just going with your heavy arrows with a fixed blade to kind of, if you make a bad shot on an animal, it's easier. You have a little more buffer. If you hit it in the shoulder blade or whatever,
You might blow through it.
Yep. You don't have mechanical failures. The other thing that's interesting is when you have a heavier arrow, they found that your arrow's actually quieter. Because you're taking all that energy from your bow and all the extra movement, and it takes more energy to move that arrow. So it's absorbed inside the arrow and all the weight. When you have a light arrow, it tends to move more, I guess, or it just doesn't absorb the energy like that heavier arrow does. And it all comes down to kinetic energy and momentum and stuff like that. It's pretty basic physics. But the other thing is they said, back in the day, and I don't know because I didn't use that equipment, and you probably know, but back in the day they said when you used a fixed blade with a heavy arrow, it's like the deer would just kind of act like they were hitting. A lot of times they wouldn't go very far. Something about
knockdown power.
Yeah, they'd go 50 yards and they would just blow straight through them and they'd be done. And they said now if you look at a lot of people hunting with mechanicals and other things, the deer is going to take off and run hard, and they could be 100, 150 yards away. And they claim that that's the difference of using a mechanical and a light arrow between a heavier arrow with a fixed blade, I guess. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's another claim. But in my opinion, I think it's going in the right direction, but I think that you can go overboard with it too. And I think that's kind of where you're at too.
Yeah, like YouTube may have misled some people. Some of these guys that I get in the shop shoot a 90-pound bow. Which is crazy.
Those are those guys that doctor is talking about.
Yeah, rip their shoulder apart.
Myself and many others will shoot a bow at 60 pounds.
That's me. I can't pull anymore. I mean, I could pull a little bit more, but I ain't probably not 70.
Yeah.
These guys, they're huge. They got muscle. They can shoot a 80 to 90 pound bow and be okay with that. Then you can start using a real stiff arrow to a real heavy weighted broadhead, and yeah, you got the knockdown power.
Yep.
Yeah, blow straight through them and 10 inches into the ground.
Yeah.
Average bow hunter is 60 pound shooting a 340 spine arrow with 125 grain broadhead.
Well, there, I'm average.
Yep. So what would you say a good arrow weight is? And where do you try to get your arrows at and your customer arrows? Like a good, not a light arrow, not a heavy arrow, right in the sweet spot.
450 to 500 grain. It doesn't matter what spine it is, but if you can manage to get that 500, even pushing 550 grain is pretty common. That's what I see the arrows here leave with.
So, like, I know that, like, with, like, the fletchings on mine, they're just straight. They came on the arrows. They were just, like, they don't have any angle to them. Do you keep them that way, too, or do you put, like, a spin on them or, like, an angle or whatever they would call that?
A helical.
A helical, yeah.
Okay, well, there's been a lot of theory behind this, but if you take your bow and find out that your bow string is twisted right clockwise or left counterclockwise, will determine which way you want to fletch your arrows. Years ago, it was the traditional guys wanted a right wing helical so that when the arrow left the bow, that it would clear the riser of the bow. So the compound bows, they found that which way your string is twisted will determine which way you want to fletch your arrows.
So
left or right.
So the way the arrows are spun and twisted go the same way. What about, I mean, maybe you don't do that here. Have Actually, you probably do. Did you get your arrows fletched here? No. They're like the 4 fletchings. Like, what's that about? Like mine have 3 on it. What's the difference between going to 4? Heck, I just saw somebody had 6 on one.
Yeah.
I did see that. I mean, again, this was on YouTube.
Yeah.
But like,
was that Bomar?
It possibly was. I'm pretty sure.
It might have been Bomar.
I'm pretty sure it was. Actually, I might saw it on Instagram. So like, what's the difference between going from 3 fletchings to 4?
More time it takes to fletch them.
Does it change the way it flies, really?
Yeah, a lot of the target archers will go to 4 fletch. I can't say that there's advantage over a 3 fletch. It's something that I'm not familiar with. I don't do it. I use 3 fletch.
I was gonna say, like, I don't really understand. Like, I thought maybe it cut, like, whenever an arrow is flying through the air, obviously it's got to be aerodynamic. I didn't know if like it creates something more. I don't like doesn't have as much drag, I guess you could call it. I don't know.
I watched someone do a test and explain the different. They did a test between 3 and 4 fletched arrows, and they did all different fletchings, different arrows, and out to like 60 and 70 yards, for some reason, they saw that the 4 fletch actually would yaw off to the side either way.
It starts doing the parachute effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a big disadvantage to the 4 fletch. I think you probably get a little more stability if you're shooting a big broadhead with the 4 fletch. But if you're shooting out the distance, I don't know if that's the answer.
So what's the parachute effect that you just said?
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, just when you're shooting long distance, say like an 80-yard shot, just like a drag car has that parachute dragging behind, that 4 fletch is acting like that to slow it down.
I see. Okay, so that it creates more of a drag on the arrow. Makes sense. More fletchings.
Chris B actually did you watch his last video about?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so he did a video with the different how loud arrows are, and they measured them all, and they're seeing if there's a difference between thicker arrows than thinner arrows, and then different fletchings on the arrows, and then the amount of fletchings. And they found a difference in 6mm shafts are actually quieter. The bigger shafts are quieter than the 4mm shafts, which is interesting. You'd think the smaller arrow would be quieter because it's zips through the air, yeah. But the bigger arrow is actually quieter. And they were testing out different veins, like what's quieter, because really, like, we focus on like how quiet our bows are. Like, we want the quietest bow, but out to 25 yards, and if you're going out west shooting and stuff, hunting, when you're shooting out 50, 60 yards, that deer is not going to hear your bow go off. What they're going to hear is the arrow coming towards them. So they were saying, like, what would be a good ideal setup for your quietest arrow.
That is true.
They didn't find a difference between a helical. I mean, there was, but it was negligible. Between the 3 and 4 fletch, negligible difference. The biggest difference was the arrow diameter and just the type of fletching. The bigger the fletching, it came out to be, the louder the arrow, pretty much.
That's crazy.
And it probably comes back to the heavier the arrow, just like the more mass you have, the quieter your arrow is.
That's what. So we were talking the other night again, bow. Like, we did more talking about stuff than we did shooting bows. So on your bow, I have just like, I guess not even really a stabilizer. It's more of just like a, I don't even, it's just like this little, it came with my old Hoyt and I just threaded it on there. What do you like recommend for like a good length for a stabilizer and weight? Because like, I tend to, like, whenever I'm pulled back, my arm is compensating for the weight, and I always end up like pulling up. I always end up pulling myself up whenever I'm shooting. Heck, I've even noticed, like, when he took a video of me, when I shoot, my bow automatically comes up, like my wrist tilts back like this when I shoot, because my arm's just pulling it up. And I didn't know if like maybe putting like a heavier stabilizer on there or something would help like keep my hand from doing that. Maybe I wouldn't have like maybe my arrow wouldn't pull a little higher. Because sometimes, like, if I don't hit, like, the bullseye, sometimes I'm, like, 2 inches high. And I didn't know if that was from, like, maybe not having, like, enough weight out there, my arm pulling up. I don't know.
What I suggest doing is totally take all the weight off your bow.
Totally take it all off.
And shoot that bow blank.
Okay.
Nothing on it.
All right.
Then have, say, like a 1 foot length rod that you're going to put on the front. No weight on it. And then just try shooting your bow with that 1 foot of stabilizer on it.
Okay. See
if that does anything for you. Then start adding weight out on that front. Once you establish what's happening between shots and adding weight, you'll hit a point where you say, okay, that is helping me, or it isn't.
Okay.
See how the bow reacts to each set of weights you add. What I notice, the front weight is what takes that shake out of the bow. That's a left and right shake.
The twist of your wrist, like whenever you shoot like that, like this.
Yeah. And then all the side rod does for me is balances to where the bubble stays in the center of your level. The bubble in the level.
So you have a back, what's it called again?
Side rod.
A side rod. So you have a side rod. I've never tried one. I thought it was just another way to keep it from like moving a little bit. So that like on your sight, if you're not perfectly, like if the bubble for the level, if it's not perfectly in that line, can that screw your shot up some?
Yeah, you'll see left and right shots.
I mean, I always try and line mine up whenever I'm shooting, but I didn't know like if you were like having a tough shot or something, like I didn't know if like how much it would affect it.
Yeah, and a lot of the hunters don't pay attention to that, and really where that's critical is out of a tree stand shot. Mm-hmm. You can't. There's nothing to judge by. The only judgment you have is that level. Okay. So learn to use it.
I was gonna say I always use mine, but I didn't know like if you were like trying to miss like a limb or something and like had to tilt your bow or something. I didn't know like how much it would screw it up.
What have you been doing for scouting bucks, and you gotten any nice deer on camera? You looking at any so far?
Yeah, I started probably 3 weeks ago with trail cameras out. A lot of guys are going to these cellular trail cameras.
Yep, he has one,
which is cool.
I'm looking at one.
Here, I'm gonna show you. This buck just popped up talking about bucks.
Where's that at?
Yeah. I have no idea where he came from. Just popped out of the like middle of nowhere. And I forgot to tell you, last night I was checking some cameras back at our one farm. And I got this really wide buck with these like 5-inch brow tines. Just like,
wow.
He's just real wide. Nothing. He doesn't have many points yet or nothing.
Yeah.
They're just like, there's a lot of bucks. Like we put about this year we put 785 acres of corn out, about 100 acres of soybeans, and I was kind of getting worried. Like I only had like one nice buck on camera like the first the whole month of June, and I just started checking cameras, and it's just like every week there's more and more deer showing up. And I'm guessing the corn and the crops are getting tall enough now, and there's enough forage that they're starting to show back up. But I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a nice buck.
I like going for evening drives, on the dirt roads and these farm fields around here. See what bucks are hanging around. I work for the township, so it's always nice being out on the road with them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, take your binoculars in the truck with you. So, what's the biggest buck you've killed?
That was a 10-point, and he probably has it's been so long I'm not sure the width of him. 22-inch spread, something like that.
That's a nice buck. Yeah, that's a really nice buck. Yeah.
What's your procedure for running trail cameras this time of year, and how do you lead that into the fall?
I don't check mine I use a pretty big memory stick.
Okay.
So that I don't need to go in there so often. Try and keep my scent down. I try and go like late morning. Hopefully I'm not disturbing the deer, spooking them. The farm land around here, it's all, small patches of woods. It's a lot of the deer come from the mountain, but they can be hanging out in those small patches.
So you're thinking about switching to some cell cams?
Yeah, I'd like to.
I have one actually that I wanted to. I called you yesterday and you didn't answer. Then I forgot about it. I have a Moultrie Mobile Delta. It takes fantastic pictures. It's really good. I just saw yesterday. It said they posted this post on Instagram. It said coming soon. It's the Delta, or no, it's not even a Delta. It's like some Gen X. That's something weird. Looks sweet. It says something about new technology and stuff. Looks simple to use. So I'm gonna hold out until they drop that one and get one of them. I've been talking about getting a second one, and now that I saw that, I've already have a plan with Moultrie, and I was gonna buy another Moultrie like a Delta, but I figured, well, if they're dropping this new one, I might as well try and wait. Yeah, just wait and get it because I love it. I just have it in my food plot right now. I have like a 2-acre food plot. There's corn and then clover on the inside, and I just have it there watching some of the deer. It's usually I have a like a 6-inch fence post, and I have holes drilled in, and I'll dig a hole and put it in the ground there, concrete it in here soon, put some leaves and stuff in it like pine limbs, and I'll usually put it on that. But it's so cool. I love waking up. I'll check it. Like I used to get yelled at by my old girlfriend. She would I'd be checking it like constantly, like we'd be doing something. She'd be like, "What are you looking at? Moultrie Mobile's on there."
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You're too worried about the cell camera. That's the whole moral of the story there.
Yeah, you'll be updating your data plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. I invested all my time into the deer. 24/7, 365 days a year.
That's what I'm worried about. Like Tacticam just came out with their new one. And I'm worried, how long are they going to keep the old model? Are they going to get rid of it, and then will it not be on a plan anymore?
Well, Moultrie, I thought for the longest time that they did that, but here my camera just wasn't working. I got the first, like one of the first cell cam, like it wasn't even a cell cam, it was called a modem. It plugged into your camera. That was like the first thing Moultrie came out with. And I got one right off the bat. I was like, this is the coolest thing. And it was good. The camera pictures were good because they came straight off a regular camera.
Yeah.
And all it did was send it to you. But they're not obsolete. They're still, that thing's,
really?
It's really not that old, but cell cams aren't that like old either. Like I think that modem came out 6 years ago.
Oh, well, in
I got
technology years, and especially
that's
new technology, yeah.
That's a long time, but there's still, you can still, like, I have it. I just don't use it because I don't want to pay for the plan.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hook it up to just, like, a regular camera. I did see, like, I don't like Spy Point. I don't like, that's just me. But they make a cell link.
Uh-huh.
And you can plug that into any camera. And it'll make it a cell. Like, it doesn't have to be hooked to a Spy Point. You can hook it to a Browning, a Moultrie. You can hook it to any camera and it makes it a cell cam. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's useful. I heard the problem with those oars after a while, because what it does is it has a cord that goes up and you plug it into the SD card slot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's how it gets it from...
Oh, you know what? I do know that because my cousin has one and I was looking at it. Yeah, that is true. It's weird. It's like a weird cord with a fake SD card.
And they said that after a while that cord gets worn down and can mess up the connection between the SD card or whatever and the thing.
The thing I have a problem with them is, like, where I have my cameras, the farm sits down next to a creek. And it's always foggy there. Every morning it's foggy back there, and there's a lot of dew. And that port, you have to open that port to plug with. And there's other ports there, and they're exposed then.
Yeah.
And the water gets up in there. I haven't had any problems with this one yet, but last year I had one. Whenever I had the port open, it just filled the whole camera with water, like, and I couldn't get it out. Like, it just filled the lens with water, and then it quit taking pictures, and then it just quit.
It seems like once you get moisture into your camera, it's done.
I have one right now. I have a stealth cam back at our place, and it has moisture in the lens. I haven't taken it out of the woods yet. I just let it there. I'm trying to take it home. I want to take the cover off and just throw it in a bag of rice just to see if I can take care of it. Because it's a good, they're good cameras. I got them like a 2-pack for like $90.
Yeah.
They're good. I'd hate to see it go to waste because it still takes pictures.
Yep.
You can see like the deer in the picture, but all you see is like like deer look orange this time of year almost.
Yeah.
All you see is like this orange dot behind the moisture, and you're like, gosh dang.
Yeah.
The camera's taking pictures, but they suck.
Yep. Well, Dan, you're starting up a new shop here, trying to. You're a Lancaster dealer, correct?
Correct.
So what's your goal here with the shop, and what do you do? And when people come to you, what can you help them with in their archery setup? Or
yeah, my goal is just to help everyone I can with archery. It's my love of archery that makes me want to help people. I'm not in it to make a fortune. Just enjoy archery and what archery is about. That's pretty much what I'm after.
That's good. That's what makes it successful.
It's a good motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you do bowstrings. What all do you do that way?
Yeah, I do custom strings. Try and match up, whatever color you want with a combination of what I can do, from pinstripe strings to 2-colored, 3-colored. I fletch arrows constantly. Not one of my favorite things to do, but I do fletch arrows for people. Customers that just need help with the tuning of a bow, and if I can teach you something, I will.
Do you do any lessons or anything like that?
No, other than the 4-H. Of course, you get the beginning shooter, young kid. I enjoy working with a young kid, teaching them the sport. And they're our future, so definitely help them out.
Yeah, definitely got to worry about the future because everybody's trying to get rid of hunting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dan can get anything for you from Lancaster, right? You're all good that way.
Yeah, just recently started selling a lot of product.
That's good.
Probably more product than I have been doing bowstrings. So we'll see what it evolves to at this point.
Yeah,
that's good. Just one question I didn't. How often do you recommend changing your bowstrings out?
Oh, that is a good question.
That's a good for kids. Like I want to get after this season. I want to get mine redone. I'm thinking after the season, I'm going to get mine redone.
And is it necessary to change your bowstrings? Because I know there's some people that say, I don't need new strings or anything like that.
Yeah, I see many bowstrings come into the shop, and someone that doesn't carry their bow in a bow case, that string gets dirty.
I'm guilty for that. I don't have a bow case.
The dirt gets in between the strands of the string and then starts wearing. Then you'll see frays starting to go.
Yep.
That's definitely a sign of needing a new bowstring. A bowstring can be dressed up, cleaned. Come into the shop. I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah, I think mine's definitely gonna need it after. It's not fraying yet. You can start to see where there's a little piece of string getting ready to raise up. That's about it. It's not even that bad.
Yeah.
The worst one, right beside my peep sight, there's a strand that goes around. You know how the peep sight, it's woven around there. There's a little one starting right there. That's about the only one that I've noticed. But I figured it's still good. I figured after this year I'll break down and get some.
Yeah.
Use a little bow wax to keep that bowstring clean.
I did after I got ready to put it away for like winter and stuff. I did wax it up. I went to the store and got some bow wax and got it waxed up as best as I could.
Yeah.
Tried doing that. But yeah, I wanted to ask that question. I forgot about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I just got mine done in
February?
Yeah. And Dan did a really good job.
Yeah, I
really like him a lot. I got the fluorescent yellow. And I had my strings on that bow for 4 years. And I bought my bow used. And I thought when I bought the bow it needed new strings. But you got them dressed up and where they were supposed to be. And I kept wax on them and stuff. And they were good for another 2 years after that. And finally got new strings.
This will be season 3 with these strings. Yeah. So I figured like every 3 years maybe if I could get them. Is that like normal?
What do you recommend?
Yeah, if you're a heavy shooter where you're shooting 100 shots a day, or in an outing, I'm going to suggest that maybe every 2 years every other year you put a bowstring on.
I usually shoot like about 50 shots a night, about 6 nights a week. If I can, like if I'm not like busy working, but like I usually shoot about 50, 60 shots a night. So I mean, I guess I'm not shooting as much as 100 shots a day. So maybe I can make it last 3 years. I mean, it's at 3 years now.
Yeah.
Keep your servings in good shape. If you see any separation where it's routing over like the module or the cam.
Yeah.
If you don't address that problem, it can start wearing into the string.
Yeah, I didn't notice like whenever I looked at them, they'll start to like look like they're fraying apart. Not really fraying apart, but like spacing apart. You can start to see the understring, I guess. It's not like that yet. So I hope it doesn't get that way until after I'm done with it this year. After I kill a big buck.
Yeah, hopefully. And did you have any success last year hunting?
No. Terrible season.
Yeah.
Had 3 decent bucks. Of course, the second morning, I seen the one 10 yards behind me. Had no clue it was there.
Oh, jeez.
It ended up getting shot the following Friday evening by a fellow archer, which I'm okay with that.
Hurt a little bit, but it's okay.
That definitely changed the pattern of the 2 other bucks. Didn't see him the rest of the season. So
are they back this year yet? Did you notice if they're back this year yet?
The one is, I believe.
Yeah, this year I had like 2 or 3 bucks come back that actually that's a lie. There's like 4 that came back this year, and it's crazy. Like some of them you'll see like huge jumps. And then other ones, like, they look the exact same as last year. They're just a hair bit bigger. You'd think, like, they would all make big jumps, but sometimes they don't. Like, I had one, he has this big rip in his ear. It's easy to tell. His right ear, it's just got this big gash and it, like, ripped in half. Last year, he's just a solid 8-point. This year, he looks like he's just going to be about the same size that he was last year, no bigger. And then I had a buck last year. It was a nice clean 10, and this year he's got, like, 13 points already.
Yeah.
Sterling junk. Tucker, I took Tucker to watch him the one night, and of course I watched him like 6 nights in a row, and then I bring Tucker out to watch him, and then he didn't come out.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since.
Really?
Not with my own eyes.
Oh, man.
Tucker's bad luck. No,
I am bad luck.
I took him turkey hunting, couldn't get him a turkey.
Yeah, turkey season was rough. Did you get a turkey?
Not this year.
Yeah.
I'm eating tag soup.
Yeah, that's okay. I see those on Instagram where guys they have like a frying pan and they put oil in it, they're throwing their tags in it and starting it up.
Yeah, which it's time. What's today? The 9th or 10th?
9th.
I think if you want to send in for your doe tags, I think that's this week, right?
Yeah, you can start sending in for the first round, I think.
Which they give out so many now that I don't think you really even need to jump on it, really.
Yeah, I don't even get a doe tag. I'm not worried about if I don't shoot a buck in archery season or rifle season. I hunt late flintlock. I like getting out the old smoke pole. And if I don't shoot a buck, like I'll try and shoot a buck But if I get a nice big doe that comes in, I can get a good shot at her. I'll try. I've killed a couple with one. It is fun to use a smoke pole. Have you ever used one?
No.
It's definitely you'd think see rifle season. I like hunting rifle yet, because that's what I started with. But hunting flintlock, we drive in flintlock though, like for deer, like over or one of my uncle's place. Like there's like a bunch of these old guys that still hunt with them, and we'll do some little drives in these woods, and it's just so fun to hear, see a big cloud of smoke and that's just fun. It's almost like archery hunting, like that fun part. Like you're not like in archery season, I'm after like a big buck, like I'm just hunting this big buck. In flintlock season, I'm just out there to like have a good time, just shoot as many shots I can.
Yeah.
Out there ramrodding the bullet down in or just trying to get it. That's fun. I have to try it.
October's a good time of the year to get out after them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love late October.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that everybody's like always focused on the rut, which I love the rut too. I'd be lying if I said I didn't, but I really, really like that like late October, like Tucker was saying, like from the 20th to like the 28th, like that, like week and a half right there. I've seen more bucks on our farm out moving in like the mornings, like just like, and not even just like one. They'll be like, you'll look over the CRP and you'll see like 6 different bucks out there working around, and they're like starting to check for like the doe groups. They're all out just kind of wondering. That's like one of the best times that I've noticed. Like the last 3 years I've been archery hunting a lot and like actually focusing on it. I've noticed that like late October is the best time to see bucks out on their feet. Oh, I mean in the rut, yes, you can. If you're in there on a good day, you'll see every buck on the farm. But just to have a really good sit. If I was gonna take a week off, if I could take a week off, I would probably go for like the 25th through like the 2nd of November.
Yeah.
Somewhere like that week. That'd probably be my pick.
Yep. There's a lot of guys that say like Halloween, like you should be in a stand
On Halloween.
on Halloween and on as much as you can. Yeah. So, do you try to not wear out your stands, or will you just go in and hunt and?
Yeah, I'll try not to burn my stands out.
Now, does that stay true even through the rut?
No, I'll hunt the rut a little harder, but then here in Somerset, PA, you're dealing with all the other hunting activity that's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
You had small game hunters come through. They brought their dogs through. What we have trapping season going on.
Yep.
Guys are out disturbing the animals. The farmers are taking the crops off. Everything's changing for them. That whole pattern that you worked on all summer seems to be shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I call it I can't say I call it. I call it what I've heard of. It was called the September switch. When September hits and that velvet gets rubbed off and those testosterone levels hit the roof, their patterns just, and like at our farm, I don't even try and pattern the deer until September. Like I just like getting pictures of them and watching them till then. I don't even try to even figure them out, because the second we cut our corn and stuff, it's just like total flip flop of what it was before. They'll start popping out 2 miles away from where they were before. It's just so I just like watching them, because I know I bet money on it that they're going to be totally gone whenever we cut the corn and stuff. Every year, like clockwork. Go in there, they're there for about 3 days after we cut the corn, and then after that it's just game over, because then they're kind of in survival mode of like their testosterone levels are rising. They know like hunting season's coming, and they're starting to look for the does, and they don't even care about the food anymore. They're just out there.
Yep. Yeah, the rut's a magical time to be in the woods. I mean, I think for me, I like turkey hunting, but I'm not huge into it. I think that time, late October, first week in November, even the second week in November, it's just such a great time to be out in the woods.
I'd be lying. I'm a really good turkey hunter, but I like deer hunting more.
Yeah.
I could go out and kill a turkey I wish I could do that with deer, but I guess it won't be as fun then. I like the chase. I like making a story.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best part.
Are you a big turkey hunter?
Not as big as deer hunting, but I enjoy the spring gobbler.
Yeah.
That's about the only time, like, where my mind, like, flips off of deer for a little bit. Like, they're still even on my mind. Like, whenever I'm turkey hunting, I'm looking for sheds and stuff that I missed. And I'm still thinking about deer, but I'm not, like, totally focused on it. That's about the only, like, month and a half that I don't really focus on it totally. That's about it.
Yeah. I appreciate you wanting to come on and stuff.
Thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice whenever people that will come on for us, even if it's just like they support us a little bit and they'll give us their time to come on here.
Yep. Yeah, it means a lot. And for all you listening out there, we'll have Dan's information on the Farmland Hunter, and you can come here, get your bow set up, get any accessories you need. It's always a good idea to come in and just get your bow checked up. Like, I thought I was having a totally different problem than what was actually going on in sort of a roundabout way. I thought maybe my rest was off, but then it turned out my D-loop was, half inch, quarter inch high?
Quarter inch high, yeah.
Yeah, and it walked up on me. And that's something that I would have never noticed or looked at. I would have shot it all year long, and I probably would have went and got my broadheads and been like...
Just resighted maybe your single pin in just to, like, compensate.
Yep.
You would have never known. They might have slipped up even more.
Yep, and bring it out. It's just like, this bow and your equipment is what's going to lead to success. If your bow setup's not right and it's not taken care of, it can prohibit you from having success in the fall. So just get it done. Come bring it over here. Get your corks worked out and start shooting. And Dan will get you set up. He knows what he's doing. He's been around the block a time or two. You've shot with some big names in the industry.
Talked to Levi Morgan.
Yeah, and you also shot with Jesse Broadwater, didn't you?
Yeah, Jesse Broadwater was a member at Mountain Bowman Archery for.
Yep. Do you know who Jesse Broadwater is?
I know. I've heard the last name Broadwater. I'm related to some Broadwaters, but I don't know if his. I don't know him. I don't think.
Yeah, Jesse Broadwater. He's one of the big name bow hunters out there, or bow hunters and archers, and really world renowned anymore.
No, and he shot at Mountain Bowman.
Yes. Grew up in Frostburg, Maryland.
Huh. Not very far away.
Small world.
Yeah, about 30-minute drive from our place.
Yep. Yeah, Dan knows what he's talking about. Are you considered a pro shooter or
No, I'm not a pro shooter.
No.
And what would you call yourself? Or what would somebody call you?
Yeah.
Don't say what you consider yourself. What would somebody call you?
I would still be an amateur.
Yeah. He'd be a damn good amateur.
They say a pro gets paid to shoot. I don't think I ever made any money shooting.
Just costed money.
Yeah.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yep. One last question. Why do you shoot Matthews over any other brand now? I know you did have a Hoyt before. You got rid of the Hoyt, got a Matthews. What's your draw to Matthews? We're all Matthews guys here.
I like the smoothness of a Matthews. The new V3, it's just the smoothest bow I ever shot. I bought a VXR for myself. I shoot the Matthews TRX 38 for target. They're just smooth. They may not be the easiest bow to build a bowstring for,
but there's a lot of working parts.
The smoothness, the accuracy, the comfort, the bow should shoot as easy as sitting on your lounge chair at home, and I just feel that that's in Matthews. But I love all bows. I think all bows are cool.
And they're made in Wisconsin. Matthews.
That are all the bows, are majority of them made in the United States, or are some of them made out overseas?
The majority are made here in the States. Like, I don't know of any. Maybe some of your Olympic restyle or recurve style may be foreign made, but
That's what's cool about bows. They're not manufactured anywhere else. They're not custom made, but they almost are here. I mean, you go and look at a bow in the shop, and they all have their little different corks to them, and they're mass produced, but they're also all hand checked and stuff like that. They're just not ran through on some assembly line over in China.
Yeah, and I noticed like Hoyt, like the biggest difference like I noticed between Matthews and Hoyt, just to like not even shoot them, just to look at them. Hoyt has a lot of like frame features. Like they have a bunch of like more of like frame. Like there's nothing to a Matthews bow like mine. You look at it, it's thin, doesn't have that much. Like you look at a Hoyt, they have like all those weird like frame pieces that are all like mended together.
Yeah.
Like there's new like Redworks whatever's like they have. There's like a lot to them. And like when you look at them, like I think like there's a lot more weight there. Maybe there's not, but
Yep. So to someone just wanting to get into archery, what's their first step? And how much should they be looking at spending on a setup? What should they do? Where should they go? Should they get lessons?
my advice to a new shooter would be go to a pro shop. Try and stay away from your Cabela's. Walmart has bows. I won't even consider. Go to a pro shop. Let them work with you. Pro shops, they'll have things on the shelf that you can try. You can't go to Walmart and shoot one of these bows.
nobody in there is going to know one thing about it.
Yeah. A pro shop's going to set, even if it's a young kid, they're not going to be able to shoot a bow that's meant for you and I.
No.
A pro shop's going to set a bow up that is a poundage they can handle, a draw length that's right for them. That's the best advice I can give you is go to a pro shop. Go to someone who knows.
Yeah.
They're only going to help you. They're not out there to hurt you.
Yep.
I truly believe I don't think there's anyone that has ever shot a bow and been like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there has, but the majority of people, I think once they shoot a bow, even if they don't go out and buy a bow, they're like, oh, this is pretty fun. I haven't heard of anyone been like,
Yeah.
This just isn't for me.
Yeah, the money you talked about, how much are you going to spend? You go to a pro shop, and if you can buy a bare bow, beginner, somewhere around $500, you're doing pretty good. Then the accessories on top of it, and that's all in what you choose.
And that's actually even on the upper end too. I mean, I bought my first bow. It was a PSE Ferocity, and I still I kick myself for getting rid of that bow. I don't know if you remember it. It was like a cryptic camo bow. I still would maybe for some reason, for me, it felt better, and I shot it better than my Triax. I haven't been able to shoot my Triax like I could that bow. I don't know why that is, but I paid $450. It came with a quiver, a whisker biscuit, and a sight, all set up. I think it was like $430, I think. And like I said, I shot better and felt more comfortable with that bow than my Triax, I think. Now, you've had a lot of bows over the years. Have you had that same feeling where you're like, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have got that bow, or I just can't seem to shoot this bow like I did my other one?
Yeah, usually it's when you change up a bow that happens. You worked with your old bow, got to learn your old bow, and now you made a swap.
Now you're relearning all over again.
Yeah. Most guys will change up a bow too every other year.
Yeah,
I can't afford to do that.
I know. My bow, I got the Verdicts. It was actually like a couple months after it came out. It was like 7 or 8 months after it came out. The V3 was getting ready to come out. And Or no, which one came first, the VXR or the V3?
VXR.
Okay, so then the VXR was just getting ready to come out, and I went and bought the Verdicts. It was like $1,150, and then so I put a sight on it, like a rest, all that stuff. I think I had like $1,350 in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
there went all my graduation money.
Yeah. I recommend people check out your Craigslist, your used bows. I bought my bow. I found my bow on Craigslist, my Triax, for $575 bare bow. No, with the stabilizer. And it's a bee stinger stabilizer, and they're like $40-$50.
Yep, I looked at them. They're expensive.
Yeah, and hell, I could sell my Triax for probably that much right now, bare bow.
Yeah.
And so look out there, look for the deals too if you're looking and you want to get in a better option. And then you can take that bow. It's a little riskier going that way for sure. If you don't know what you're looking at right away, but even for guys that are out there that, can't afford a new bow. But are you selling bows through Lancaster? Can you sell bows?
I cannot get them shipped is the problem.
Oh, okay.
The dealer from the bow companies, say like Hoyt or Matthews, does not allow it to be shipped out of Lancaster. So, if it's a new shooter, we can always use Archery Talk to help find you a bow.
Yeah, Archery Talk's another really good place to look at too. They have some good deals on there on equipment. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, Dan, thank you again for coming on. It was good sitting down and talking with you. It's always good, and I think we're gonna
Hop off
here, and we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Dan.
All right,
thank you.
thank you guys.
Yep, bye.